Thank you very much. I think we can start, dear members, with the second part of our program. We will now go into the medical aid benefits. What happens to me if I retire? What happens if I resign? Will I still have my medical aid benefits? Those are the questions that you can keep in mind. This morning we have Ms. Jacobina from the medical aid here. She will do the presentation on the CMS medical aid benefits. Please listen attentively and also ask her questions in relation to the medical aid. Let's put our hands together for Ms. Jacobina for her presentation.
Good morning. I am, like Darren said, I'm Jacobina Shilongo from Ministry of Finance Medical Aid Department. Because of the limited time, I'm just going to emphasize on retirement and CMS. Retirement and CMS. Yes. Okay, we understand that who qualifies. I understand we are all members of CMS. If not, maybe you are dependent on your spouse medical aid. So membership of CMS is voluntary. It's not a must. If you are working for the government, you can choose to become a member of CMS. But if you wish, maybe you are on your spouse medical aid that is working for a private company, you can be on your spouse. But with CMS, it's voluntary. Okay, staff member, because I'm not going to go into details of that because I understand most of us are already members, right? Approaching retirement. Okay, I think maybe I should just start with the medical aid fees. We have two options, which is high option and standard options. With standard option, you pay 120 if you are alone. Then your dependent per month costs $60. Then we have high option. If you are on high option, alone is 240. And then if you have a dependent, your dependents are 120. So the more dependents you have, the more obviously you need to pay. Okay. And then with the hospital limits acute, we gave each one of you a member guide. Okay? Can I get a member guide? You have that CMS member guide. Every single thing you need to hear or to learn about CMS is in this book. All your benefits, standard or high option benefits, the rules, the staff rules that applies to medical aid is in here. You can check on page 3 under retirement, especially pensioners. Everything that applies to pensioners when going on retirement is also there. But we are going to explain what are the requirements and who qualifies to be a pensioner after retirement from CMS. Okay, when to apply for high options? In case you are on standard option or high option and you want to change to go to the other option, this is the right time for you to do application. We do high options application from the 1st of April every year. 1st of April, and we have until the 31st of July each year. And you are applying for the next financial year. So if you wish to go on high option, to say next year, you need to do the application now. You can do your application form if you are still an active civil servant. You do your application with your human resource management, and that application form should be signed and filled in between April and the 31st of July. You do not apply for option changes before April, and you don't apply after August. So even if you do the application after August, when it comes to us, that application is invalid. You have to do the application, and it means that you have to wait now for the other financial year for you to apply. And when you apply, you are applying for the next financial year. So for those who wish to go on high option, and I don't advise people to apply, to come from high option to standard option. Considering that we are approaching now retirement, we need our medical aid, procedures here and there, and you are required to be on high option. So this is the right time for you to do your high option application and benefiting from the 1st of April 2023. Okay, termination of membership. You see, when you are going on retirement, the day, your last working day, your human resource management is supposed to inform Ministry of Finance that you are going on retirement. Can be early retirement, normal retirement, or medical board. When you are boarded and no longer able to work, then you are boarded. We are supposed to be given a termination. Or when you resign, absconded, you are supposed to be terminated. But the termination that is permanent is the one when you are absconded or resigned. But termination of retirement is something that if you want to continue with your medical aid in retirement, HR will obviously send us a termination, but you, as a member going on retirement, wish to continue, you are required to do your application before your human resources send us a termination. So the minute you get your retirement letter, you start doing your application, you fill in the form, you make the copy of your retirement letter, and then you are required to pay 3 months in advance. You pay 3 months in advance, provided that when you are retiring, let's say you are retiring end of April this year. 1st of May, you are waiting for GIPF to process your pension. Sometimes HR takes time to, submit your things to HR or to GIPF, or maybe there's something that was not right with your details, your name or something, and then the process takes time. That's why we ask you to pay that 3 months in advance to cover your medical aid while waiting for your pension to be processed. Now, sometimes you pay that 3 months in advance, but then, maybe you are working for HATAP, and then your HR did not submit your things on time. You find yourself in retirement 6 months without getting your pension. So you still need to pay for your medical aid every single month. You need to make a plan, because you need to make a plan. That's why before you go on retirement, make sure that your things with HR are up to date. And then you also have to stand by your HR to make sure that they submit your things on time to avoid, your pension to be processed on time. Yeah, with retirement, we advise people to do it themselves. The minute you get your retirement letter, I know they give it to you before you go. The minute you get it, you complete your form, make the copy of your retirement letter. And your retirement letter, it's like a certificate. You don't throw it away. You make copies of it, you keep your original home, you submit the copies. So we only need one copy, and then your 3 months in advance payment, and then you can submit it yourself. If in cases of people that are the regions, you can even send it with someone that you know that is in Windhoek, then can submit it for you. You can courier. When you courier, it takes 1 day, then we get it. It takes 2 to 3 weeks to process everything. Sometimes when you give it to your human resource management, we don't get that application, and you also, sometimes members don't make follow-up to say, no, I submitted 3 months or 4 months ago, why didn't I get anything, or why is there no GIPF deduction coming? Because what happened to us, when you submit your application to us, usually years back, they will ask you to bring your payslip. Because we need the payslip. It's an income statement that you get from GIPF. You see, your monthly income. Usually they need you to bring it to us so that we can now inform GIPF to do the deductions. But what we do now, if I personally receive your application form, I process it, I personally request your payslip from GIPF, and then I can already implement your deduction. So you don't need to bring us the payslip. Only in cases where maybe your pension took longer to be processed, more than 3 months, then you need to inform us that, no, I retired 6 months ago, but then there's no deduction on my payslip. So, but in cases where you bring us your application, we process it, we inform GIPF, we implement the deduction. For you as a member on retirement, what you need to do is just to make sure that a year should not go by without verifying with GIPF if you are paying for your medical aid. To avoid going in areas as you away, we had cases of 15,000 members that are on medical aid, but they were not contributing. Because most of them never did the reapplication when going on retirement. They got their retirement letter, they never applied, they went to the farms, they continue using the medical aid. Now, when we are doing auditing, we are finding out that most members, they never even reapplied. Their status are not changed, that they are now pensioners, but they are active and claiming. But then there is no contribution. And as you know, we need every single cent to pay the service providers. Okay, there is where we are. Now, we are talking about pensioners. Who qualifies to be a pensioner and have CMS membership? It's the person that retired at the age of 60, 55, or the person that was medically boarded, or a spouse or a kid to a deceased CMS member that was working or was a pensioner at the time of their death. Okay? At 60, 55, ill health, when you are no longer fit to work, then you are boarded, you go over to GIPF, you still get your something from GIPF. Or kids or spouses of deceased members. Those are the people that qualify or we classify as pensioners, and those are the people that qualify to have CMS membership during retirement or as pensioners. And then the application. When you are applying, when either your spouse passed on or your parent passed on or you are going on retirement or medically boarded, your last day of service, from the last day of your service, you have 90 days to make sure that you did your application to CMS. To make sure you paid, you completed your form and submitted your retirement letter. So what happened if you did not do your application? It means that if you do not apply on time when you retire or boarded, or maybe when your spouse passed on, you forfeit the right to have CMS membership. So it's very important that when you are going on retirement, make sure that you did your application within 90 days. With the pensioners that were in the newspapers, they were pardoned by cabinet because we have to. Office of the Prime Minister, they already refused because the rule is there to say that no, There's a rule. You are supposed to apply within 90 days. You did not reapply, so you do not qualify. But because obviously pensioners, they need, medical aid, and most of them, they also didn't know. So Cabinet said no, they can come back, provided that they will be able to pay back the outstanding amount. But after the 31st of May 2022, I don't think they are going to pardon anyone anymore. So make sure that when you retire or boarded or early retirement, make sure that you apply for your medical aid on time within 90 days. Don't wait for HR. Make sure that you submit your things yourself, especially that are in Windhoek. You have the advantage. You can come to the office, we process your form, you come by 2 weeks later, you get your medical aid card, you go to the farm when your things are nice and sorted. Okay, in case of deceased members, let's say you are a member of CMS and then your spouse and your kids were your dependents. When a male member passes on, the spouse can take over the spouse medical aid, provided that they also do the application within 90 days from the date of death. Exception is given to where, for instance, where there is no death certificates, in cases of incidents where, car accidents where the person burns and then they wait for autopsy. Those are the only exception we give that, okay, we can give them after 90 days. But for just normal death, we expect the members, the spouse, the surviving spouse, or the kids to make sure that they apply within 90 days. They also pay 3 months in advance, and with death is a bit different. Because with death, claims take time to be processed by GIPF. It's not like normal retirement and early retirement. With death, it takes time for you to get your pension. So while waiting for GIPF to process, make sure that you pay every single month. If it's 240, you pay your 240 every single month. The minute GIPF pays you out, you bring us the income statement so we implement the deduction for your deduction to come from your annuity. I think we covered most of these things. I think now I just have to wait for the questions. Do you have anything to add? I came with my colleague from MedHealth, but we are sitting in the same building at the same office. In case you have any questions regarding claims or any benefits. But like I said, all the benefits are in the member guide. You can just go through also.
Thank you. Can you tell us what happened between March and April this year with the members' same as contribution?
The re-registration.
No, not the re-registration. Most of the same as members, they went to their consulting doctors. And they were told their medical aid is finished. Can you clarify on that one? Because we paid a lot of money as consultation fees. We've put in claims. People are not getting anything. And they were not even disseminating information to them to tell that. Probably back from the 15th of March or to the whatever time, all the medical aid was suspended. Because we went to various doctors. They are saying all civil servants, their services were, it's like it was terminated.
Okay, let me just, not actually, the people that were terminated is people that were not contributing to the scheme. And some, if it says that maybe some, they exhausted their benefits. Because we get the benefit from the 1st of April. We have until the 31st of next year to make sure that we utilize what we get from this 1st of April. We need to make sure that if you have done consultation, you make sure that you don't exhaust that, because you have 12 months to make sure that you only use 12 consultations. Yes, that part I understand, but yes. Yeah. But my colleague will answer on that.
Morning, everybody. Just a bit, I have a lot of sinuses and this mat is working on my nerves and my stuff. Page 14, on the booklet that we have sent through, there we have the consultations of which each member qualifies for. Page 14, if you're the higher option, you would have 10 consultations per member if you're alone, 15 if it's you and your spouse, 20. Page 14. At the very top, it's written there, consultation, sorry. Alright, so as we have it there, per member you only have 10 consultations. With a husband it's 15, so it's 7. You with, if like the working members goes, husband, child and so forth. So it's member plus 2, it's 20, and then member plus 3, it's 30 consultations. So if you guys have more than 4 in the household or so, you have to split that up amongst the people in the house. Not everybody has the same amount. So if you're 10, you can only fall 10 times sick. We don't ask on how you can fall sick, but that is rules and regulations stated by NAMFISA and going forward with NAMAF. So that is now, we have a small little joke that we always tell, that you can only fall sick from February to November. December you with family, in January you don't have money. So that's what it is. I know that during this time span it was quite a little difficult with COVID and all that came up. People didn't ask to fall sick. There's a lot of times that people came and medical aid was run down. The biggest part, according to your question, sir, was people tend to use the medical aid for the duration of the whole year. In the private sector, it's from January to January. Now, the medical aid in the government starts from April to April. By the time of January, March, benefits are depleted. And there is where the problem comes in, when you go to the doctor and find out that they will say you don't have money. It's not that you don't have money, because we have different disciplines allocated to different things. Consultations is a particular thing. You could have money going to the hospital, you will have money to do physiotherapy and all that. If you go through the benefit guide, there's all those things are stipulated there. That's why we handed this out. It's a little bit difficult since time is constrained. Sometimes we have our presentations and we run through the guides, but time is a bit constrained here. We also have a problem, people don't really like to read oftenly, but it's best if you come to the offices, we will explain much more in parts. There's a question here and a question there.
Okay, my name is Hamberenia Shkara. My question goes like, okay, we used to go to consult the doctor, the private doctor. But when you go home, you are asked to pay the 5% or whatever at the
consultation part. Okay, that 5% issue thing that we have, that comes 20 years back, there's no 5%, but continue on.
But it's more dependent to which type of illness are you having. So then, when you go back home, after a few weeks, your phone will ring. This amount was deducted from your membership. And you see it's very, very high. So now, at the hospital, the state hospital, they also all part for private. We go to those doctors, they write a prescription, I go to the pharmacy, I get my medication. But now, they are refusing, say, this doctor is not registered, we can't. So, medical aid is able to pay more to the private doctor, but cannot pay. That doctor is not even being paid, it's just the medication from the pharmacy. Thank you.
All right, thank you. What we have, there's different, if you look into the member guides, as we also seen stipulated for page 14 and so forth, you would see that we pay 5%. You have your 95% or 92, co-payment is 7.5. Especially pharmacists, dispensaries, we pay 7.5, it's not 5. One thing that most of the CMS clients do not understand or know is that we do not pay on cost, but we pay on tariffs. Tariffs has been allocated by NAMFISA, NAMAF, and so forth. So for example, if you go to the doctor and he charges you $500, if the tariff states 280, you're going to get back. So if the doctor is contracted in, we would pay you $280 back due to the services that was rendered. That part is a lot of questions comes up because people feel that if I pay to the doctor 1,500 and the tariff is only 1,000, where is my 500? That money I went to the bank, I went to ask the children, I sold a cow or what, I need the money back, I need to give back to the person where I got the money from. But according to the rules of NAMFISA and NAMAF, we don't pay on costs, we pay on tariffs. One thing that people also do not understand, I will be with you now, ma'am, is that some of the doctors, if you do not come up to the CMA's regulations, you do not qualify. Those are the doctors which are stated they are not contracted in. So the non-contracted in doctors, they help mostly because of the fact that they are qualified on doing everything. All the others are qualified on doing what they need to do. But the non-contracted doctors are the ones that oftenly provide their services. That's why the services are so high. Mostly specialists. And when it comes to the fact that we do not cover the particular amount that needs to be covered on their side, this is like internal things, I would not discuss on that now. But payment-wise, doctors feel that that's why a lot of doctors are not contracted in. Payment-wise, they're being paid a little too late. For claim for CMS, it's 6 to 8 weeks. Now, if the doctor sees you in February, he only gets his money somewhere in April. That's why he feels, I'll be contracted out, rather see me, pay me, I'll have my money by the end of the day, you sort out your pocket when you get your money on another time. It's just rational thinking towards their side, but we're working towards it to get them all onto the boat of the contracted in. Concerning your question is where the fact is where you go, and this doctor can actually help you, but now when you go to the private doctor helps you more than the normal. I don't know how that goes apart, but people need to look into that. I'll take this up at our board meetings and get it further.
I'm saying to my former private doctor, if I go there, I pay like twice and more. Then I decide to go to the hospital because what I need is just a prescription. I can't get this medicine from the pharmacy without the doctor's prescription. But they tell me that this doctor at the hospital is not registered. They are not going to give you the medicine. My concern is the one which is registered is also very expensive when it's coming to claim from the medical aid. And the medical aid refused me to get the medicine from the one who's never going to be paid.
But the one that's never going to pay needs to apply so that he can be in the process of being paid. So if he's a contracted in, yes, most of you would find the doctors working in Central or in Katatura, which are not contracted in.
There are some medication that the allergy medication. I'm talking of myself now. It's an allergy. I contracted allergy. I had a serious allergy 2 to 3 days back. Then I got a prescription from my. I'm a nurse from my colleagues. Then I went to the pharmacy. State there's nothing. Then I have to go and buy it from the private pharmacy. I got, but there is this one specific one that is not there. Then I have a memorandum that we used to use for government with a government practical number. I went to Rhino Park. They say private do no longer take the memorandum. My question is now, why? Because all I need is my medication, as she's saying, and it's from my medical aid. Their recommendation is that go to a private hospital or private doctor, let them prescribe you medication for you to get the medication.
I will take that back. I will take that up.
I'm
going to take it. I get you now. I get you. I'll take it up to find out. It's same.
What she's trying to say is that she went to a state service provider. She got a prescription and went to a private service provider. So now the private service provider will not attend to you because you are coming from a state. Yeah, so from a pharmacy. Not go through from the state. Yeah, that is actually we will take it up with the management.
Hello, sorry. Thank you. My name is Norman van Rensburg. I do agree with the previous speakers. There are a lot of inconsistencies. and irregularities when it comes to medical aid. That is a fact. Now, I also want to know now, based on this 5%, how it's charged and why that levy differs from doctor to doctor and from pharmacy to pharmacy. Also, I really have a problem with CMAs not sending out statements to their members. Because how do you as a member control and manage and see that everything is correct? Yeah, and that is where the irregularity is coming in. Also, I have a very big problem with the fact also that when you join CMAs, you are not told that, listen, even though you are on the higher option, it might happen that you will go to a private hospital with your child or yourself, and then you have to pay a 5%, I don't know, this 5% story. You must really explain this 5% nonsense to me. Now you come in, already I have a problem that I'm not informed. Listen, you are a registered member now, but you might get the situation where you go to a hospital or to a specialist or to a doctor who in any case not inform you beforehand that they are not contracted in. And then you are charged a certain percentage. You must pay 4,000, 6,000, 2,500. And what choice do you have? If you don't have the money, you must then turn around there from that hospital and go to the state hospital. You know most in what state the state hospital is. So I want to know, in terms of the gap cover, an explanation, how does it work, and is there a waiting period when you want to join, or how does it work in terms of the complement, the gap cover? So all in all, overall, I personally, I'm not a happy member when it comes to medical aid. Then lastly, is the rumor true?
Can you just hold on 2 seconds, because I have 5 questions that you asked now. Just get
This is just a rumor. Is the rumor true that there are unclaimed monies, credits, lying with different hospitals in Windhoek? And the hospitals and the medical aids do not know how to put back the money on the medical aid of the members. Thank you.
All right, coming to the rumor, I don't have an answer to that at this particular moment. I've heard about it too, and we're working on it. In the next part concerning the 5%, the rumor, no, I have nothing to say towards it at this particular moment. I do not speak from the top of my tongue. The next part, the 5%, there's different disciplines that goes according to. So for example, if you, back in the days, when higher option and standard option came in, you could have had a tonsillectomy with a child, and the bill was 13,000. So we paid 10,000 and your co-payment was 3,000. 3,000 is easy to get towards it, to a hospital or what you have to pay. Now, exactly in the private sector, that operation is 48,000. So we pay 40 and your co-payment is 8,000. The 8,000, some people don't have on their pocket, and that is the percentage that goes towards it. We pay 95% of cost towards operations. So if you pay the 40, the 8 you have to get. So that to the question of complement. Complement is the gap cover that works with the higher option or the standard option. It's a payment of, it's not a medical aid. It is a gap cover. It covers that percentage that you as member can't pay. I don't know how long, I think it's a month or 2 months period that you have in order to apply for it. That's under Prosperity Health, they do that part. So if you don't have complement, I would also recommend that you apply for complement, because it actually helps with quite a lot when it comes to payments of fees. The amount that you need to pay at hospitals or places that you come up towards. We have different doctors with different criteria. You know that there was also this part that came out back in the year. Some people charge over the tariff. The consultation fee might be $280, but this doctor charges you $1,000. some answers that we have got from the medical practitioners, the service providers, was that the services that they render to the member is the service that they would give. So if he feels his services that he renders towards you is worth 2,000 and we can only pay out towards the tariff of 500, his services that he rendered to you was 2,000, you will get your 500 back, he got that 1,005. It's his money, it's his services that he rendered to you. We can't choose because it's a specialist that you need to see. All right. As you also see that there's benefits which are not also up to, we are in 2022, economical wise, a lot of things raised. You know, so there's parts that we're also fighting towards. There's things that's been paid out at times where we feel that why is this thing only being paid out $36? Now it costs almost $80. As the time progressed with this whole COVID and all that, it came in, and as the years also progressed, economical crisis, everything went up. We need to look into that. People are busy looking into that part of the payment out that your levy is also not so high. But due to the fact that we're still working on specific percentages, that's why some of the levies are way higher than it was 2 years back. If we take it on layman's term, you would have bought baked beans for $10, baked beans is $15 now. So now if we still pay out $2 to the baked beans, back in the days we paid $2 out, now we have to pay $7 towards it. The percentages hasn't been increased as it should have been done. That's why your levies is a little bit too high, a little higher than it was back in the days. The other question was, when you get to the hospital and your child broke his arm at the casualties, that is called admission fee that you have to pay. Some like Roman Catholic Church, 2,500, maybe Bohamba has their own, Mediclinic has their own, Rhino Park has their own. It's an admission fee. It's not a fee of a 5%. 5% of things that we had back in the days. You know, I know you are elderly. My mom also retired last year, and she still has also that. Why am I paying this? It's 5%. She would come back to me and say, but I paid this. This is not 5%. You know, most of you guys are teachers, educated, know what needs to be. I will explain to my mom, but it's not 5% from the amount that you paid. It's 5% towards the tariff, and that is still why you pay this. The other question is that there's no remittances sent to clients daily or monthly. You as member has the full right to get to our offices at Met Health Administrators at Marua Mall, or the offices at Dorado Valley, or myself, which is placed at the Ministry of Finance, or anywhere in the whole Namibia. We have the different offices where you can obtain your statements. You can ask, I'm looking for the statement from this day to that day. We can print it out and you will have a clear indication on which service provider you attended and what the benefit payment was and your co-payment towards that particular SP would have been. I think I've answered that.
That's the last one. What if a specialist perform the service and only afterwards inform you that he or she is not contracted into the medical?
That is another part that most of the clients or members are facing. You would not know if the person is contracted in or contracted out. Most specialists, most of these people in the top ranks of particular things are not contracted in. I don't know why, but that's what it is. So what boils down to that is, according to you as a member or your prerogative, one has to say, please do ask, are you contracted in or not? So that once you get that part, that you would know. But not after time year after year, I need to pay this person $63,000, which I never had. Please ask that question of finding out, are you contracted in? And if he's not contracted in, please refer me to someone that is contracted in on this particular discipline to help my child or myself or my wife for this operation to take place.
Okay, thank you. The floor is mine. I have 3 questions. When it comes to 3 doctors actually confided in me that specialists do not want to be on the medical aid because the medical aid tariffs do not accommodate specialist fees except the GP. So they are losing out and they are specialists. Can medical aid look into this issue? Because those guys went to specialize in certain things. Now you want to pay them the tariff of the GP. And then it is a setback for the members. Because where will you cough up, as you have said, so much money to pay the specialist if the medical aid is also failing to do so? So look into that one. Because 3 white doctors confided in me and told me that the reason why the specialists do not want to be on medical aid is because the government or NAMFIS or whoever has decided that they will only pay the tariff for the GPs.
2013, 2014 tariffs and
Yeah.
2022.
So look into that one, because we are now in 2022 and even COVID is not finishing and we may want more specialists. So check into that one. The other one is how long, why does it take for SEMAs to refund? I have a claim, you put in a claim, if you pay, let's say the specialist or whoever GP, whoever you pay, and then you pay out of your pocket. When you put in your claim, whether you pay me back only 2,000 or not, it will take 3 years for you to pay. I have to chase you around SMAs, where is this, where is that? So why don't you also look into those who are doing the
Well,
payment?
it's not that it's okay. What happens with the payment
Just
process?
a moment, not yet finished.
I just quickly want to answer.
Okay.
We can continue with the third question.
Okay.
With the process for payments, it's 6 to 8 weeks. There's a whole, almost like a circle, a string of how it goes through. Goes from the assessor, pre-assessed, then assessed, manual assessed, and so it goes further. As the whole part it goes, when it reaches the client advisor, to give the answer, the 5 to 6 weeks is over. Then it's still going through the pay runs. It has to go under the accounts, see that it can be paid out, because doctors are being paid out every Sunday. That's why the process takes 6 to 8 weeks.
No, this is now 2 years I'm talking about.
No,
This payout is sleeping for 2 years at SEMAS.
No, then you needed to follow up that with an advisor at CMS to find out why this payment hasn't been paid out. Because you as a member needs to find out, if I've paid this, why is this not paid out? Another thing that we only pay 160 days from date of service. So from the date of service, you have 160 days for a claim to be processed. If it's not processed in that time span, you forfeit the benefit.
Because we have asked it every time, you are told, no, it's in the process. We have received so much. We are working on it.
You need to settle that out. I know that you would say CMS, but there's a particular client advisor that you deal with when you went to the offices to say, I've handed this in, I handed it in last in July, it's already in Feb this year, I haven't got an answer. And then step up a little to ask, can the supervisor attend? Because this needs to be settled. And there is maybe where we call it stale claims. If the claim falls stale, it's a problem, because Public Service Commission don't want to pay out stale claims. They feel if you have gone to the doctors in January and you've paid this amount, why do you only follow up by June on something? January you had the operation, June you want to come and find out that this thing hasn't been settled. What happened to Feb? What happened to March? And I also do understand the fact of sometimes we have this of, I would need to settle this, but as we have all grown and elderly, we have kids which we have put through school. Try to let your children help you in this particular processes. If you can't move from home or where you are, find out, tell him or her, please go to the medical aid and find out this for me. I've done this and it's not been paid out, so that the kids could help. I know that sometimes where pride also kicks in, you don't want kids to know everything that you had to gone and all that, but it makes the process a bit easier for you to get your finances and things in place than waiting for the 120 days when you in place that things are going. I get your fact, ma'am, that you said it's 2 years. You need to follow that up at this SP that you've gone to, the advisor offices in Dorado Valley, across the USA. You can find out why this hasn't been submitted. What we also advise on mostly of the clients, people tend to hand in things and leave it. Anything that you hand in, please make a copy of it so that you can have correspondence on when you have handed it in. Also, when you get to an advisor, let them stamp a receive stamp on it. Then you have follow-up on saying, I was here on the 21st of May, 2020, and it's 2022. What's happening here?
My dear, those things you are saying have all been done. Me, I know how to follow up very well. So the story is not happening. You are saying, ask the client services. I know only SEMAS. I don't know no client service. If that is new education for us to have, let us have it back. When I hand the things in, I hand it in where it's supposed to be handed in. Whether it's this manager or that manager. See, just imagine me, I'm a HR manager, so I know the story. What about the other people sitting here, even with me, who don't know anything, how to follow up? So when we come and meet with you, you are saying follow up, send your child, don't send your child. That one will not work because the CMS must now take up with the client services.
Client services are CMS.
Yeah,
It's
ask
just
them, what is your story? People are complaining. My people are complaining there in the meeting places that this is happening. Why should it take such a long time? Why should you delay the claim? So you must now follow up. Don't send us there again. Last one now, my dear. Last one is when you say that some people, because this thing happened at OPM, Office of the Prime Minister too. Some people were also dead already. They were still, their SEMAS payments were behind. And then one day, SEMAS jumps up and reviews one day, and then says, you owe 40,000, you owe this, you owe that. Why is SEMAS not also checking nicely who has not paid their dues for that particular time? Because deductions are done from our salaries. If deductions are done from my salary, I don't need to look my payslip. I already told you deduct, and you must deduct. And if there are non-deductions, you're supposed to pick it up and say that, look, you have put in this thing, did you discontinue, or why are these things in arrears? Instead of coming one day and saying that you owe 40,000, and it happened at our office, some people were even dead already, and they were owing 46,000, 50,000. Now, how so in many, many months? So these are things SEMAS must not sleep on duty. They must check this thing.
We don't deal with directly with the medical aid contributions ourselves. We just deal with the benefit parts, medical parts. Contributions are being dealt, like you said, at the HR and at the Ministry of Finance's side. We've also, this question has come around, a lot of people came to us. People don't, you would be the one of the HR would look at your payslip. Others don't look at their payslips yearly or daily. Some people feel that this is the amount that I'm getting and this is what it is. As the years progress, only after 5 years, you find out I'm owing them 36,000. Thinking that I already had my paperwork in place, but then you find out that it's not. People tend to move from one ministry to the other. That's where we picked up where this came in. When they moved from one ministry to the other, paperwork wasn't given in on time. So now that you worked for justice and you moved over to judiciary, and now the paperwork wasn't in place. After that gap that you had, now the people find out that you have been working for 7 years, I've been paying my medical aid all this time. How come I have this debt? It was running on the other side where you were not on. Time is really limited towards that, but we have quite a few questions and answers towards a few other parts also. But that is something that needs to be dealt with at HR and the member itself. Members need to look into that, seeing that their contributions are going off thoroughly and properly.
I just want to emphasize on the deductions. Me sitting at CMS, I will not know that Mrs. Rickman somewhere is not paying for the medical aid unless there's an auditing that is happening. Because we have over 250 members on the system. You as the member of CMS, you know that I'm a member. I go to service providers. Am I paying for my medical aid? And you see that through your payslip. Either you are a working member, make it a tradition to make sure that you are paying for your medical aid. And also, if you have dependents that your kids that are no longer going to school and over the age of 21, we will know that. We will not know that. For us, it's just to run the system, and the system is just run. It's a system. It runs, remove all the dependents that are no longer in school and above the age of 21. Members are supposed to inform their HR that my kid is no longer in school, they are 21, or one of my dependents passed on, inform your HR so that the child should be removed. And then your deduction also be stopped. Because your HR are the ones that are doing the deduction with your salary office. Finance, we just get the application form, we process it, it's bags of application form that are coming in. We can't really go through each system and see, oh, this one is not paying, this one is paying. It's the members themselves that needs to make sure that you are paying for the right option and the right amount, and you are contributing.
Thank you so much.
Okay, she quickly want to ask.
I experience a problem, and this is to me quite a serious problem. my child needed a service that was a specialist service, and there was only one of that equipment available in Namibia. And that specific specialist was about 6,000 that I have to pay. I went to medical aid and no one could help me. Now, what if there's only one of that equipment and it's only that one person, a service provider, that can do? So I had to pay, and medical aid paid me, I don't know if it was 2,000 even, maybe it was, I'm not sure if it was 2,000. But that is not something that to me, that is something that must be covered by the medical aid, especially if it's a specialist service. And if you do not get that treatment, my child might not make it. So that is, to me, is very important that we should look into the different equipment that sometimes needed and the cost to or the tariffs to that. Thank you so much.
I get you, ma'am. That most of that part I can only say that needs to be settled by NAMFISA and NAMAF. It's out of our hands. I can't say that we need to pay, but it's a good, valid point that you wrote. I will take it up, also saying that we need to look into the tariffs. That's why, as mentioned, specialists don't want to be into it because they don't get the fees that they need to get. Because of time, we can only take two more questions.
Thank you very much. While we're on that note of what the previous caller was saying, you know, every time all the speakers was talking about NAMFISA, we are the representative of NAMFISA, so that we can also ask them. But coming back to what I want to ask you guys is, you know what happened? You guys from finance, CMAS, as well as Public Service Commission, 4 years back, the family of the Thomas family from Kirtmanzo was having the same scenario, begging for funds, and then it was said, no, this person is not there to sign, and the other one is not there to sign, and the other one is not there to sign. And you know what happened? All of a sudden, that particular person passed on. But that particular person was a paid up member. It's because of this in contract, and you know, that story.
I hear you, sir. That question.
The damage is already done.
Question I raised, we get the answer. We will have to settle that with
the damage is done already.
People that invites the people from.
So take it very serious. Well, once you guys go back, say, man, this is the, and they know. Same as know, you guys know. NAMFISA also know.
We'll take it.
It's a certain Mr. Thomas from Kirtmanso.
There's a question behind it, and I think that will be answered also. We'll quickly give it to the lady back, and then we'll answer Sir in front.
Thank you. Mine is on COVID. Colleagues, I understand all other medical aids, they are paying for COVID medication, except SEMAS. Why? The medication costs at a pharmacy 1,200 for COVID. Anybody contacted with COVID, go to the private, 1,200. But SEMAS is not covering that. Other medical aids, they are covering it. The question is why?
I'll take it up.
With COVID that is still around, we have family members who are getting sick, and I just want SEMAS or Minister of Finance, when will it come to a time where we are able to cover our parents on medical aid? Because imagine you don't have a husband, no child, but you have a mother that is very, very sick and you can't afford the medication. I mean, when will we come to that point where we can cover our parents?
CMS, it's a scheme, no? It's not a fund. It's a scheme for civil servant. It's your benefit for your child, for your biological kids, for your step-kids, provided that you are legally married to the other parent, also for your legally adopted kids. Not for parents. But if you are employed and are able to take out a private medical aid for your parent, you can do so. It's a scheme, not a fund. That's why our contribution is not the same as private. We contribute 220, 240, and 120. And remember that our contribution, our monthly contribution, is also just a drop in the ocean, considering what the government is paying out monthly to the service providers. Yeah.
If you need a child, and this child is not 22, but she's still a student, should I submit this application or a registration yearly or once?
No, if the child is a student from the age of 21 to 25, they are required to submit proof of registration for every academic year. So 25 is the age limit for dependents to be on their parents' medical aid. Only when the child is physically or mentally challenged and unable to provide for themselves. Because what we are trying to do is also to preserve the scheme. We don't want to exhaust it. At the end of the day, we'll have nothing. Yes.
Yeah. Sorry. Yes, last question. Yeah, okay. On the issue of contracted or non-contracted doctors, why can't you make it a point that you provide those lists in a brochure like this one? Because it looks like it's a card of some kind, whereby it's only known to a few, as to who is, contracted and who is not. Because then you will be running around left, right, and center in town to look for those people who are contracted, while in essence, you could provide a list of those doctors that are, contracted.
I get you. So that the contracted in and contracted out doctors, this thing only came up a few years back also. It's due to the payments of services being rendered. That's why most fall in and most fall out. We do have lists of who is in and who is out, but that's not obviously stipulated in the booklets. I get you what you're saying. At the Ministry of Finance, you can also obtain it from two ladies, Petrina and Benedine. They do have lists of who's contracted in and contracted out. If you would also call on the CMS offices, at the Dorado Valley offices at MedHealth, we will also be able to see on our systems who is a contracted in doctor or not. If you would ask, I'm going to see this doctor, I just want to know, is he contracted in or not, just for me to be on the east. It also depends from a member to know if it's in or out. Just don't go and then find out I have to pay this amount. But it's good that you're bringing up that, but as you said that we need to implement it or give it out on paperwork, but there's people that you could ask for. You can call in and find out, I've attended to this doctor, or I need to go to this person. Is he contracted in, is he contracted out, so that I could know what the amounts is. If there is a doctor, for example, you're looking for a particular specialist, the specialist is contracted out, and your child needs to undergo this, or you as person, ask, is there one that is contracted in, and we can refer you to a person that you can go to. Thank you.
Just before we go, we just want to emphasize on something. When you are going on retirement, and then maybe you want to move to Europe permanently, or maybe South Africa, the day you decide to leave the country, you also need to surrender your medical aid, because you do not qualify to use the medical aid outside the borders of Namibia. So when you retire and you want to move abroad, you surrender the medical aid before you go. Yes.
What happens if you have to go, if you are going on vacation or you going out with work out of the country? What happens?
Only when you are taking up permanent residence. Yeah, but if you are going to visit and come back, that is okay. You can still be covered. But if you are moving permanently, you need to surrender your medical aid.
All right.
Yes. No, the child is covered. That's why usually when you are, even if you are traveling outside, we give out travel insurances. So when you are going out, you can always come by the office, or you send someone to pick up your travel insurance. Or before the child goes to school, they can come by and pick up their travel insurance.
What is the problem? What we have, like we said, if you go to the Ministry of Finance, you get the service provider letter. The child can obtain the letter from there and also provide it at the doctors or the people on the other side, stating that I'm on the medical aid, this is what my parents are paying, and they can be attended to that. Like I said, we have the 120 to 180 days of payment. So if the child went there in January for school and he undergone something and it wasn't paid out, and he comes back in March for Easter or so, brings all his medical things, you as a parent can also follow up and see, has this been paid or not?
Now, she's there. She does not have anything.
How old is your daughter? Is she younger than 25? Then you need to obtain the paperwork, bring the school papers from China, we allocate her onto the medical aid, and you send it to her so she can get it on the other side. Yes, that's what I'm saying. She will be helped on the other side with the paperwork she obtains from the Ministry of Finance stating that she's a scholar. So we need the proof of registration on that side. You provide it. We activate her for the duration of the academic year that will end next in 2023 on the 28th of February. And she will be on the medical aid for this duration and she can be able to obtain services on the other side. All right.
Let's give a round of applause to the medical aid. I know there's still a lot of questions, and information is important. We need to get information to be equipped, because I see there's a lot of hands still raising. Please note your questions down. After our session, we will have the question and answer session as well. For now, we will have Ms. Rachel Gobases to come and explain to us her journey with GIPF and a retirement with GIPF. Let's put our hands together for Ms. Rachel Gobases. She's looking very young, but she's 60 years old. Let's give a round of applause. Hande, hande.
Good afternoon, colleagues. This is not early retirement, this is 60. Yes, it's not an early retirement, it's 60. And the reason why I'm here is just to share with you that you should not feel old because someone said you are 60 or you feel 60. 60 is a number. So I'm here to motivate you not to have any anxiety because you are close to retirement or because you are going to retire. Retirement is like death. You have to retire one day. You see, as long as you turn 60, you must go and relax. See how relaxed I am at 60. Some of you people will say these people from exile, they have reduced or they have added age. No, we never added no age. We used to reduce. But I went there when I was young, so I didn't have to add anything. This is the real age. So my topic is enjoying and loving retirement. Retirement, my dear, is a wonderful thing that can happen to you. Just imagine after so many years of slaving at work, and then you have this opportunity where you can stand and then do what you want to do, not what you need, what you want to do. Retirement is about what you want to do, not what you need. Because what you need is when we are working. When we are working, we have to do what we need to do to make the system run, to do ABC, to please everybody. You know, like now we are complaining about SEMAs. They have to do what they need to do for us to be happy as members, right? So in retirement, you do what you need to do. Retirement is not a punishment. We feel depressed sometimes. You think that when you retire, you must sleep until noon. No, retirement is not for sleeping. Retirement is for doing what you want to do. So, sleeping until noon, which you have never done even when we were working, we don't need to do it now. We are not very tired. Are we? We are not very tired. We are just becoming matured. Right? We are not old, we are becoming matured now. With 60 and beyond, it's the age of grace. It's the age of grace. You will ask maybe why is the hair not white? No, we don't gray easily. This is a gift from God. In my family, we don't gray easily. So I don't get gray. I have no gray, really. I have one gray, I think, yeah, maybe one, but there is not much, really. So that is a gift again. This is a wonderful era of personal freedom, relaxation, and fulfillment to retire. You know, and it's well deserved. I worked for 25 years for this government. And I mean work, not sleeping on duty. Here is my boss. Here is my boss. He knows very well working. There are some of my staff members that I work with. Okay, so not sleeping on duty, I mean work. So I feel fulfilled that I have given back to the nation what I got and what I could do. And still I can stand on my feet now and do what I can do for myself now. That's why your retirement money also is not for sharing carelessly. Because that we have done already when we are working now. We are giving here, giving there, contributing here, your retirement, you must be stingy a little bit. Be a little bit stingy with it because that's the only money you have. It's not money you are investing. You got your money. You are probably not going to invest it nowadays, especially when the things are with COVID and all these many stories we have now. So guard against it so that you don't lose track of it. Don't be a village chief that everybody comes and you are so happy for people to say, we don't have milk. Every time you are giving out, we don't have sugar. No, these people will not have sugar even before and after, because how long are you supposed to give? You have been giving all the time. Yes, don't you think so? So that is the story, my dear. It's an exceptional opportunity to appreciate and be thankful for in life to be 60. But when we turn 60, in that retirement, we must also have an emotional planning. What is emotional planning here? That means you must be sure that you have fun with yourself. You must have a purpose in your life, pursuing your passion. And to pursue your passion, I mean things that you want to do. Whether you want to travel a little bit, whether you want to be, whatever you want to do. But do not do this one thing I see in Namibia. We like copying one another. Everybody wants to be a farmer. We want all to plant the tomato. Where is the market? You are going to plow all your money into the farming which you have never done before. So if you want to be retiring and be doing that as your passion, start 5 years even before. Yeah. There are things I have started already. I'm never bored because I'm just busy with myself all the time anyway. So you have to do these things before time. 5 years at least before you retire. Start doing that which you think is your passion. If it is planting the tomato, start 5 years already and see in these 5 years how big does your tomato grow. If you don't water it or you give little water, or if you water appropriately, where are you going to use your tomato? Because Spar cannot take, then what is this Pick and Pay? We have very few shops that will take all the tomatoes. So you don't want just to be planting because another person says, I am a farmer, I'm going to plant, so you are also going to plant. Is that your passion? What makes you happy? What do you find pleasure in doing? Volunteering work, whether it's in the community, whether it's at the church, wherever you are participating. That is also your passion. Do it well. Whatever we do, we must just do well. Then you are fine. You see? So this thing of half things will never work. The other thing is that always occupy your brain with thought-provoking things that will motivate you to feel a bit like yourself. Not this thing you are up and about, but you are like, oh, where am I? Am I alive or I'm dead? Not things like that. Things that will make you feel, oh my goodness, now I'm alive. Do those type of things and always try to stay motivated. When you stay motivated, it's like whenever you think about positive things and do positive things, your brain never dies. Your brain will always be thinking, it's generating thoughts. You start thinking, it's active. 60 is just a number. It is never this thing. So I'm very proud to be 60. Sometimes our people will say, oh, you are very old. You're supposed to be at home. How can you put on trousers like that? It's not their story. The story is yours. If the trouser fits you nicely, it's your story. Don't listen to those things, because when you listen to that, you will really feel way down. I'm old, I'm this. Now, the other terrible thing I must tell you is maybe terrible is this thing we do sometimes. When you see your pension, 1.5, you divorce this one, you marry that one. The newer one you bring into the house. That one has demands, You must keep up with the pace. So in order to please you, will finish your money. After your money is finished, whoo, the person is gone. You are now again flat sack. It's a long story. The same thing with, I hear there are people called bend down. So what do they call bend 10? You know what is a bend 10? I have heard about bend 10s. My subordinates were telling me, Madam, stay away from bend 10s. And my colleagues were teasing me, saying, stay away. I said, what is a bend 10? Ka boys and ka girls. Stay away from those ones. Those ones will finish also your money. They will say, come and say, we will be buying when thy kingdom comes. They don't bring nothing, it's only in their mouth. It's only your pocket that is going to talk. Stay away from that. I'm not saying don't have fun. Have fun, but with open eyes. Your eyes must be wide open. When you are going for these things, check this side and check that side. Don't just, check at the back too. Don't just check at the front, behind too. The little voices, don't be too excited. This is the story, my people. So, and my dear, take care of, pamper. You see, when I say take care of yourself, I mean pamper yourself. Like I like massage, It's laying nicely in the parlor of the massage. Do your nails nicely. Look cute, do your hair. Don't come here with your, like some of us, we say, I'm retired. You find people in town with a torn shirt, I'm retired, I'm going to town. Why should you go like that? Yesterday you never went with torn clothes to town. Yeah, make up your face, whatever makes you happy, and do it. Pamper yourself. Exercise your body. Take a walk. Me, I see only many white people, because I'm here in Olympia, walking, taking walks. I don't see black old people walking around. They just sitting at home, or I don't know what we are busy with. We shouldn't do those type of things. I'm just encouraging us, all of us, to be ourselves and get very excited about these things, You must also write down what you want to do. Your plan, you must have a plan. Keep a plan. Even 2 things that you think you can do correctly. Don't do many things at the same time. When you plan also too much, you will not implement anything. So you do 2 things that you think can be done. And try first one first, second one, and then go on. If you see one is successful, then you can see, this one is working. Do that. You see, and that is how you will enjoy your retirement. They say it is fantastic to be retired. Can you see how happy I am? I'm very excited because there is no more rat race. When you are working, it's rat race. You have to, I want to be promoted. They didn't promote me. Now you don't even think about that. That is a long story now. It's finished. You are done. Now you have to relax. Do the things that make you to think better in your head and keep you very young. See, when I say I'm 60, some of you will say she didn't count very well. I counted very well because I have too many siblings. I cannot be now 40 and they are already past 50. It's not possible. So, all I'm saying is to encourage you, my dear colleagues. We are now belonging to the same WhatsApp group. So let us keep the WhatsApp group alive. Let us not pull ourselves down. Those ones who say you are old, you tell them, oh, now old, now good. Let us move, and that's it. So that's all I wanted to share with you. Positively and properly. Passion, pursue it. Thank you very much, Yaukia.
Let's give another round of applause for Ms. Rachel Bohasis. She reminds me when I do presentations, I always say retirement is not a destination. Retirement is a journey. You must enjoy your retirement. We will now go into retirement planning, and Ms. Afra will now present her part to us. After she's done, we will do questions and answers. Then we will close for the day. Okay, so we are almost done. Let's put our hands together for Ms. Afra.
Good afternoon, everyone. It feels really great to come after Ms. Govases, because when I walked in and I heard the level of questions you guys had, I was like, yo. And it just took someone giving you a perspective of what they are actually experiencing in retirement to completely change the energy in the room. And I trust that we will keep this positive energy throughout. I also realized that with only 11 years before I get to where Ms. Govases is, I certainly want to grow up to be as wonderful as she looks in retirement. And I think that is something that we can all aspire to. So thank you very much. A number of the things that I will be sharing with you today actually follow on in terms of what Ms. Govases has shared, whether it comes to having a purpose for your future, whether it comes to recognizing that the amount of money that you might have is finite, and therefore you need to find ways to make it work for you, whether it is that just to recognize that the value of retirement is the ability and the gift to be able to do that which you want to do and no longer that which you need to do. And so my contribution today is really to have a look at how do we further empower you to ensure that you are knowledgeable in your finances and other matters to be able to take the next steps, and then also inspired to take those steps, and finally to be responsible, because the only person you can count on in your retirement is you, so you need to be responsible for that big pot of money that will be given to you. And the first thing to recognize is that when we look at retirement now, retirement being a journey is a very different journey than it was when our parents were growing up. In those days, the expectation was that we would continue living for a period of 10, 20 years maximum following retirement. But the world has changed. You've seen Ms. Govases. At 60, she looks like she's still going to be here until she's 100, right? And you have to make that money work for you for at least 40 years. Sorry? Oh, okay. You need to make sure that money lasts as long as you last. And some of the challenges that we face that perhaps people before us did not face to the same extent is the fact that we have had a very serious health crisis over the last 2 years that has impacted us, and now we have a war. And that war has many implications. It has a lot of economic implications, and that further impacts the purchasing power of our money. I want to check in as I pause on this slide. And you'll see that the last point there is really around the fact that we are going to spend less years in our working life and more years in our retirement life, depending on how things go. Just to get a sense of those of you in the room who are of early retirement age, how many of you have worked for the same employer throughout your lifetime? In other words, you're sitting at between 30 and 40 years with government. Please raise your hands nice and high. Okay, these are the people you need to go to if you want money, ne? Because they are going to have nice retirement. Sorry? 30 years and up. Okay, great. So these are the people who are hopefully well prepared for retirement and will be able to survive on this single source of income. Of those of you here, how many of you have worked for more than one employer? Please raise your hands. More than one employer in your lifetime. Ah, julle is min. Just you guys, okay? So I want to ask a question. I want to get a bit into you. I know sometimes we believe certain matters are confidential. I'm not going to go into the specific detail, but just tell me overall, those of you who worked for a previous employer, did you have a pension fund? Were you a member of a pension fund? Yes? Okay. So when you left that employer, what did you do with that pension fund? Sorry? And you can just shout from where you are, yes? You did what? You invested in what? Or where? In properties. Okay? Shares. Shares and property. Okay? Anyone else?
Government bonds.
He bought sofas. Okay. Sorry? And they are old now and you want to replace them, huh? Yeah. Okay, we have an example in the back there. What about you, madam?
No, I invested in property.
You invested in? In property. Okay. So for those of us who invested in property, property is generally considered a good investment, right? Because over time it appreciates in value, you can have more than one use for it, you can rent it out, etc. The story might not be so glorious right now, because we've seen what's happening to the property market. But in general, a property investment should be a good thing. I can say something similar about shares, because you have the expectation that an investment in shares over time will give you something valuable, right? But that is not always the case. And when it comes to shares, what we also need to think about is liquidity. But I'm not going to go into more detail on that because I have a slide coming up. Now, sir, thank you so much for your candor around the couches that felt so good maybe for 3 months or for 3 years. And now they no longer really add value and we would probably want to replace them. So I would not advise you to use your pension fund money for consumption. At least not the consumption now. In general, you should be looking at planning your retirement money for that particular purpose, which is retirement, yeah? But we'll let the couches go for now, yeah? Let's have a look then. What's your plan for retirement? And again, I am not going into the detail or getting into your confidential information, but maybe just give me a sense. Are you comfortable that your retirement plan can support you for your years of retirement? Of course. Excellent. Okay. Anyone else? You're all going to say yes, that you are comfortable. Okay? So that then means that you are comfortable that this income, at least the one that we are speaking about here, is going to increase perhaps with inflation every year over your lifetime, right? And that income is created from that capital amount that is put together. And by the time you retire, most of us will get what? Will you get 100% of your income? No, you'll probably get between 60 and 70% of your income. If you're lucky and you've worked for at least 40 years for the same employer, you might even be looking at 80% of your income. So you retire on 100,000, but you go home to 80,000. So you must make up that 20,000 gap, and how do you do so? Now, what you'll see up here, this slide has a look at two different areas. The first area is to look at how the distribution of your day and your time will change over time as you get into retirement. In the earlier years, we are strong and we are capable, and that is really the time during which we need to look at what is it that we are going to do with ourselves now that we no longer need to do whatever is required. We now have the choice to choose what we'd like to do. And you can see, if you have a look at that distribution over there, that the one constant is probably sleeping. It gets a little bit more. But then in terms of working, we definitely come down. But we have to keep ourselves motivated, inspired, and we have to keep ourselves intellectually challenged. And so the acronym we like to use in terms of what are you retiring to? Because we often focus on what is it that we are retiring from. And that can be a very, very scary place, because all of a sudden, when we retire from something, for many of us, we have an experience of no longer feeling useful. And that is in the end what has us get certain illnesses, be challenged, and over time, we don't enjoy those golden years that we've worked so hard for. So my advice to you is to start looking at what is it that you are retiring to? And the acronym we are using for that is PUSHES, yeah? So to make the most of your retirement years, be sure to prioritize what pushes you to age well. And what pushes you to age well is things like having a sense of purpose, using your time to work, to help others, or go to events or travel. You've had a perfect example at the front of the room, who socializes and spends time with others, who practices healthy behaviors, who experiences a sense of gratitude. If you think of Ms. Govasa, she actually referred to retirement as a gift. And finally, to focus on what your strengths and your abilities are. And it is extremely important to have a look at these things as you prepare for retirement. Now I'm just going to have a quick look at what your benefit is. And what you get as a member of a defined benefit fund is you are clear around what it is that you are going to get for the rest of your life. Not like some of us who are members of defined contribution funds, and we take the investment decisions for ourselves, and we also take the liability and the obligation in terms of what could happen with that investment. In this case, you have outsourced that. It is not your challenge. So you will go home with a lump sum, and 2/3 of your benefit will provide you with an income for the rest of your life. And how did we get to that amount? First of all, you contributed towards that fund during your tenure with government. And you simply put away as little as 7% of your income on a monthly basis, whilst your employer doubled that. Doubled and more, yeah? So you have the value of your contributions that you've put together throughout your working life, and it is a very, very small portion of what your total income has been. And of course, this benefit continues to grow in markets. It is invested in various areas to ensure that you, at the end of the day, when you retire, have some good money to deal with, yeah? I'm seeing some frowns. Is something I've said unclear, or do you have a question?
We can't see clearly.
You can't see clearly, okay. But if we switch the lights off, you won't see me. Sorry, yes, sir. Oh, just the lights, okay. I know it's that hour. And we say as we get closer to retirement, that's where we are spending more time. So just a little bit more to go, almost there, okay? So how much is enough? You'll see there are two different formulas. The one formula focuses on your expenses and has a look at if you take what it is that you've accumulated so far, and you take your annual expenses, and you minus your current age, and that will give you an amount. That's a simple way of looking at what is it that I'm going to have. And then there's also the conventional wisdom of taking 10 to 12 times your annual income to get a sense of what your nest egg will look at retirement. So when you obtain your pension fund statement, you can go and compare. This is what conventional wisdom says I should be looking at when I retire. Here's what I'm getting. Do I have enough? And if not, what else am I going to add to it? Yeah? Remember, the lucky thing that you have is that you can remain a member of a medical scheme. And I'm glad I was here for that portion, because I've often referred to CMAS as a medical aid fund, which it is not. It is a medical scheme, which also then explains why there is such a difference in terms of those of us who do not have the luxury of being part of a scheme. And I shared with your colleagues yesterday where you guys at your advanced ages, 11 years and plus more than me, are paying between $200 and $300 a month for your medical aid. I am paying at this young age and in this very healthy form with all the exercises that I do, $3,080 a month. Add that to your pension, add that to your expenditure in terms of what you might have at retirement, and it becomes a big issue. So like I have said to your colleagues yesterday, I will be in the market to either marry someone 5 years before it is time for me to retire, or I'm going to go and apply for a job at government, because clearly it's going to help me manage my expenses better. Okay, Clearly that didn't make anybody laugh, Mas, all right? Now, in terms of looking at how do we plan, I know we are in advanced ages, we are close to retirement, but one of the things we say in financial planning is it is never too late to start. The most important thing to do is start. Many of us spend time planning, oh, when I get this amount, I will do this. When I get that, I will do this. Whatever it is that you can do now, within 5 years before retirement, start now. Because when you have a look at this picture, you can see what happens when you don't plan or when you don't have a look at the right types of portfolios to take care of you. So if I start at the bottom with nervous Noah, he saves from the age of 25 to 65. But his challenge is he's actually got the lowest portfolio. Why is that? Most of his money is in savings. And savings don't grow. Yes, it is important for you to have a savings plan. You should have even up to 6 months worth of income in a separate account because that gives you the power of choice, right? So when you want to replace couches that are old, you could go to that particular fund as opposed to using your pension. This guy spent too much time in savings which don't grow, which means he's not able to maintain his purchasing power over time. So if you look at the price of bread or milk 10 years ago and you look at it now, you are very clear that the same amount of money will not get you. It might even only get you 100 milliliters of that milk that you were able to purchase before. If you look at Quitter Quincy, she only invests, I know I'm going to say it's a he, but ons vrouw mense ons doen beter. So, he only invests for 10 years, right? However, he invests, he doesn't just save. And so his portfolio looks better. Why? Because most of his portfolio is still invested in assets that grow exponentially over time. And that is extremely important for retired people. Often we think when we retire, we must put our money in only a safe place. It still needs to grow because if you are going to live and look as lively as Ms. Gova says over 20 to 30 years, your money needs to keep working for you. If you look at late Lila, now it is a girl, she's still invested, but for insufficient years. So she ends up with a portfolio that is well diversified, but at the end of the day, it's probably not enough for her. The person we want to be like is like a consistent Chloe, who finds herself catering for her retirement from the age of 25 to 65. So throughout her working career, she has ensured that she actually put money away. And her portfolio remains throughout time well invested in equities and other growth assets to ensure that she maintains the purchasing power of her money. Okay, so what are the things that we need to do approximately 5 years before retirement? And this is the space you find yourselves in. It's some very simple things that you can do now just to have a sense of where am I? Is it sufficient? And if it is not, what are some of the things that I can still do to make a difference for myself? And coming at this from a positive perspective. So the first thing is to look at what are your living expenses going to be at retirement? What are some of the things that are going to fall away, right? What are some of the things that will come additionally? One of the things you might need to consider, the older, with the newer generations, we start working later, we get married later, we have children later. So you might, and we may retire earlier because of certain challenges that we may be experiencing globally, which means you face what we call competing priorities. How do you fund the post-high school education of your child whilst making sure that you can take care of yourself at retirement? These are questions we need to ask ourselves and start addressing as soon as possible. The next thing is definitely to have a look at your pension fund statement and get a sense. Work back, have a look at the 2 examples I shared with you around how you can have a look at your capital just from a very simple calculation and get a sense of what is it that I'm going to be starting with? What do I need to add? What do I need to do differently? Do I have a shortfall? If I do I have other investments that could support me in retirement? Some of us only have the single pension. others have made provision in other ways. And you still have the opportunity to do so. There are a number of products which we will shortly look at just now. Another thing to do is to pay off your debt as far as possible. I know many of us wait until we retire and we use that 1/3 to do so. But that 1/3 could be an additional investment value, an investment value that carries no taxability. It's almost a free lunch, yeah? Except that it's almost a free lunch. Let me just put it that way. So what would be the benefit of reinvesting those funds so that you can actually make use of those funds during your retirement and cover any shortfalls, as opposed to going to buy the big car, as opposed to going to be the chief of the village, as opposed to marrying someone when you retire and when the money is done, the first thing they do is that they leave you. It's important to consider healthcare costs. Very often I find that our people, we tend to plan for death. We plan for our parents no longer being around. We plan for ourselves no longer being around. When COVID happened, I cannot tell you the amount of people who were calling me, I need funeral cover. And what we forget though, is you can have a long sick bed. And what caters for you during that long sick bed? Right? Will you have the funds to deal with whether it's a 5% levy or a 20% levy? Will you be able to get a wheelchair? Will you be able to take care of yourself? Or will you find yourself destitute and now wishing to die so that the money can actually be paid? Yeah? So the longer we live, the more important it is to actually plan for escalating healthcare costs, because it is a fact of life. Yeah? The next thing is to plan your estate. I've been a financial planner for 16 years. It has been the hardest thing for me to help people plan their estates. And before COVID, no one was willing to plan their estate. Since COVID, everyone, their mother, father, brother, and sister, wants to plan their estate. And that is the right attitude to have. Because the most challenging thing is when you finally, when something happens, a negative thing such as during COVID, and now you are stuck without funds. Now your accounts are frozen. Now there's no access to funding and we have minor children who might need to go to school. So extremely important to take the time, speak to an advisor, speak to your bank manager and ensure that you plan your estate. You can do so through a will, and you can also do so through a trust, whether it is a trust that you create whilst you are alive or a trust that you create that comes into play once you are no longer around. It is important to consider your own needs there, yeah? So in my example, I am a single woman with one son, and I thank the Lord that he is now 18. Because when a child is a minor child, it can be very useful to make use of a trust so that you can ensure that funds are actually applied in a proper manner to ensure that those wishes that you have are actually carried out. However, when we are more adult, we need to be a little bit more careful around these things and a bit more careful around trying to, as it were, rule from the grave, if I could call it that. Yeah? And then one point that we will spend a bit more time on is to have a look at what are some of the alternative investment options that I have that I could make use of as I plan for retirement. And that's the spending plan I was talking about earlier, just to give you a sense of how you can look at that. Really speaks to the first point of what you can do at retirement. And it's just a very, very simple spreadsheet or table where you consider various categories of your expenses, but you now consider them if you were to retire tomorrow. Yeah? And that just gives you a sense of these are my expenses. This is what I can expect from my various retirement funding vehicles. And either I have enough or I need to make a plan over the next 5 years to ensure that I can get closer to what would enable me to have a hassle-free retirement. Okay? Now, when we are looking at our investment, there are a number of factors. So if we take property Property is not a liquid investment, right? So when we are looking at liquidity, you might need unexpected cash, or you might need cash for unexpected expenses. If your money is fully invested in properties, it's going to take you a while to be able to get that money, right? So you need to consider on the spectrum of investments. Some of my investments are liquid, some of my other investments might not be so liquid, such as property or shares, and those I must then recognize that I cannot count on them if I need them in the next 3 months, because I may not be able to get access to them. But they do add value to my portfolio overall, because they appreciate in value, and over time, the medium to long term, I'm talking 5 to 20 years, it can be useful. Then we also need to consider, and we've spoken about it already, inflation, or how the purchasing power of your funds is affected over time. A very simple example right now would be to look at the cost of fuel. The cost of fuel 2 months ago and the cost of fuel now. There's been a huge increase, and many of us have a tendency to budget to the last dollar. And when we budget to the last dollar, we really feel the impact of price increases. It affects us a lot less when we have not planned to the last dollar and leave some space for increases in costs. Then we have to consider taxation, which impacts the real return on our investments. Now, many of us who withdraw from a pension fund, we find that we pay tax on that full accumulated credit in that moment, which takes away from the investment value. Whereas if we had transferred to what we call an approved fund, there would be no taxability, and those funds can go straight towards supporting us during retirement. I am losing you guys faster than I can say, bah. I must go back to that slide of on slap no nog meer. Are we here? Okay. Ah, thank you. Thank you. The risk. Risk is a big thing. The higher the risk, the higher the reward. But there's a caveat to that. You must be willing to be in it for the long haul. Many of us, this retirement money that we are going to get is probably the biggest investment value we will ever see. And because of that, there are many competing priorities for that money. It could be your family. It could be investment opportunities that suddenly come up. You need to be, what did Ms. Govase say? She said you need to be stingy with your money when it comes to retirement, because you are your most important creditor, and you must be able to take care of you first. And once you are able to do that, it actually makes it easier for you to take care of others, because you are then in a position of power and not in a position of scarcity or lack. One thing I do need to caution you guys on, and this is whilst being a financial planner myself, consider the costs and fees. It is your money, and you have the right to negotiate. If you are not happy with the fee I am charging you, if you feel that the fee is too high, you should be able to say, I'm not comfortable with this fee, and I would like you to either review it, or I will be engaging the services of someone else, right? It is your money. Of course, none of us is willing to work for free. You haven't worked for free. As a broker, I will not work for free myself. But we should be reasonable in what it is that we can charge relative to the amount of advice that we are giving. So this is an important tip for you and something for you to consider as you plan. Now, having a look at some of the options, an option that I personally like and tend to offer very, very often to people is a unit trust. Now, when you look at unit trusts, understand that they cover the entire spectrum. So you can come from cash, money market, which is safe and doesn't really grow, all the way through to aggressive share portfolios, passing through property, bonds, etc., etc. So you can get a product that is quite transparent in terms of how it works from a cost perspective, tax efficient because there's only a 10% withholding tax on interest, and your risk is actually mitigated. How? Because it's not just your money. It's not like the gentleman in the corner who said, for example, I've purchased shares. Now, if I want the money, the share might have lost value. I might not find a willing buyer. When it comes to a unit trust, all of that thinking is taken away from you. That is the challenge for the investment manager, and you can have access to your funds much faster because you are pooling the investment. So instead of owning only one share and being the only person who owns it, we can now be 150,000 people invested in that same portfolio, and what we are purchasing is what we call a unit. And that unit is a portion of a share. And if you look at a unit trust portfolio, it's not one share, it's many different shares. So that in itself helps to mitigate risk. If the one side is not doing well, if we look over the last 2 to 3 years, property was down crazily. But maybe local equities were doing quite well. So even if one side of your portfolio is not doing too well, the other side can protect your capital. The second thing we have is annuities. And what I like about annuities is that it is a disciplined vehicle for investment. So you purchase a retirement annuity, which has an approved fund. But when you retire, you just like with your pension, you get your 1/3 tax-free in cash, and your 2/3 you have to go and buy what we call a compulsory annuity, which is an annual payment, which can be broken down into monthly installments. Yeah? There, what the value is of your own retirement annuity is you have more control in terms of how you want to receive those funds. Let's say you choose a living annuity. A living annuity allows you to choose a percentage of income between 5 and 20%. So in my earlier years of retirement, I might only need 5% income. I have my pension that's coming in, I might need to top up just a little bit, so I take 5% income. And as I age, I start taking more income. So you are then in control of how your additional pension is paid to you. And again, even here, you would need to ensure that you not only look at the short term, but also the long term. So you need to be invested across the spectrum, not just the short end, but also the long end. Taxable, so you will be taxed at your marginal rate. But of course, if you are going to start with less of an income than when you were working, then hopefully your marginal rate of taxation will also be lower than it was when you were in full-time employment. Investment policies, and I should have actually changed that to investment opportunities. Yeah, so there are a number of different investment opportunities that you might want to consider. Some people are into Bitcoin, some people are into various types of investments. The key thing there, my advice has always been, I do not advise or invest in anything I do not understand myself. If I have a conversation with you about investment and you cannot make me understand it, I'm not buying it, right? So personally, I'm not invested in crypto. However, I am involved in trying to understand it better. So I have an appointment with someone over the next few weeks, and I said to him, Papa, you must break this thing down to me so that I understand it, yeah? And I think that is just to share how important it is for you as well to not be pushed around when you get a big lump sum of money just because people can offer you some options, to be really involved in the process yourself and ensure that you know what you are getting into, because you've worked really hard for your money and you want it to work for you as best it can for the rest of your life. Yeah. The interesting thing about investment policies, they can support you in terms of ensuring that you cater for your legacy. In other words, for your children or whoever else you would like to benefit. Sometimes it's important to make sure that if I'm no longer around, my child's education will still be paid for. And one of the benefits of insurance policies is the fact that it goes straight to the beneficiary. If you put a beneficiary nomination on, it doesn't form part of your estate. So when your accounts are frozen and no money can be paid, those funds can be paid directly to the beneficiary and can ensure that things can continue even though you are no longer around. Yeah? And then property can have challenges, you know. I mean, I'm also invested in property. Sometimes you find your tenants don't pay you. Sometimes you find you have a soft heart and you are like, but these are my people. And then you find yourself 5 months later and you're like, whoo! Now I need to up my amount in terms of my mortgage bond because I was lenient. So it's very important to be careful when we think about property. Have a look at what is going to make it as simple as possible for me. I might have energy at 49 to be sending letters of demand and summons, etc., in terms of my property. I might not have the same energy 10 years from now. Does that mean I can't invest in property? No, there's more than one way to invest in property. You can do it through a unit trust. You can do it through a listed property portfolio. And again, the value there is that it takes away from you having to handle it yourself and puts it in the hands of a professional who can do that on your behalf. Okay, so those are investment options. And we just did a quick review of that, but I would like to just check if you have any questions on that before I move to my final slide. Any questions on these investment options? Yes, sir.
Thank you for a good presentation.
Thank you, sir.
But don't take us that we are not interested. It's like you are talking Chinese to us.
I'm sorry.
Because these people who are telling all these information,
yes,
they are at a level where they could not engage on this. The reason is simple. These are poor civil servants, lowly paid, and they are squeezed from left to right by either tax, GIPF, and the government itself. Unfortunately, we might ask you related questions. Yes, we understand what is going on in the market. But the problem is, honestly speaking, these people, the level of the people we are talking to, we are squeezed by the life we are living in, to the extent that you are not even on your payslip. The little amount you are left with, it cannot take you to the next month. That's why we don't talk about investment, we don't talk about anything, because most of these people who are in this room, majority of them, they are still renting. They cannot even afford a house, just one single house. It's unfortunate, but thanks for a good presentation.
Thank you, sir. So, on that note, I just want to check, how much do you think you need in order to be able to engage in these kind of investments? Would like to try. How much do you think you need? Yes, sir.
Opera.
Yes.
Let's say for the investment policies or opportunities.
Yeah.
If I want to engage in acquiring government bonds on a percentage-wise, what will you recommend? Should I spend 50% of my one-third on government bonds over a period of 10 years or 60% over a period of 5 years? What's your take?
My take is that I cannot give you information just on that level, right? Because I do not have an understanding of your needs. What I can say is that a bond could be a valuable investment to you. You have specific terms, like you have, say, GC27, which pays out in a certain amount of years. They will give you the percentage return that you will get for that, or you could have it over a longer period and a longer period. How I would structure my portfolio, so bonds generally, I think we say on the risk spectrum is more low to medium risk, right? So in terms of my return, I can also expect that it won't shoot the lights out, if I can say that. But it is reasonably safe, because basically government would need to disappear for it to not guarantee that bond, right? So I would say it's important for you to look at what's my plan over time. So let's say in the first 10 years, I am comfortable that I have enough to support me. Then I might want to take a bond that is longer term, right? So that 10 years from now, when I know that my expenses are going to increase, that is when that fund comes in. Do you follow my reasoning? Yeah? So in terms of what percentage, there's a final slide that I'll show you that gives you the percentage of a very simple calculation in terms of the percentage you should keep invested in assets that grow over time, that are reasonably aggressive. So there I'm talking shares, property, etc. Yeah? So throughout your lifetime, even after retirement, it's important for you to keep a portion in there. Bonds would probably be at the long end of short-term investments in terms of their returns. So I would still want you to have something a bit more aggressive with that, right? So it's very difficult to advise, just like this, but I hope this gives you some insight into the different areas that you can look at and how to time what type of investment opportunities you will take. Does that answer your question? Okay. Now, thank you. If I can just go back, how much do you think you need to have in order to be able to invest? Yes, sir. $100. Okay. Sorry? Maybe at least 1,000? For some funds, for unit trust funds that are longer term, in other words, that have quite a risky, what is that? A risky profile, you can invest for as little as $200 a month, right? So it is not a lot of money that you need. When it comes to saving and investments, what is most critical is discipline. In other words, do something, yeah, and do it consistently. Now, many of us wait until the last minute and then we have nothing to invest. But if you, at the beginning of each month, or no, when your salary drops into your account, you have a debit order for as little as $200 a month, and come on guys, we drink for more than that in a day, right? You can actually have something that grows over time. I have a serious challenge with the fact that we say poor civil servants, and I say this with all due respect, because we are not poor. And we must be careful about how we speak, because how we speak influences what we do and influences who we are. We are not poor. We are gainfully employed, and we have the opportunity to earn a great living. What I would like to see from most of my people is your payslip. Because my experience is when I look at that payslip, which is why when I started out as a financial advisor, I started doing coaching, because there was no money for me to invest. And unfortunately, I'm that kind of person, I don't like leaving people without an option. So I started coaching people. Why? Because your payslips have got 15 deductions for Letseho, and Ecofin, and VisaFin, and Blue Financial Services. Yeah? And that is, sorry guys, you are giving your power to someone else. Right? You get to decide what you do with your money. There is no reason to be going for loans. And let me tell you what the loan is for. Then the loan is nie, maar ek moes vir my 'n nuwe bed kry, want ek is ongemaklik op die ene waarop ek slaap. How many of us have slept on the floor? We are fine. My back is fine. I can still do everything I need to do. So, I know I get passionate about this, and please excuse me, but review your payslip. Review how much you are willing to give up. If you look at those deductions, you are paying double the interest rate on a bank, yeah? And that is why you don't have money at the end of the month. So let's take a step back and let's be responsible for how our finances look, and then make those changes now. Interrogate your finances. Have a look, what do I need to do differently? It might be that I need to consolidate my debt. It might be that I need to have one creditor so that I pay off all these interesting human beings, yeah, who drive beautiful cars and have lovely houses whilst you try and pay back the money. Yeah? So have a look at that and then determine what is it that I can get rid of. There are a number of tools around debt management. One of my favorite ones is called the snowball method. Look for the smallest amount that you need to pay off, and whatever extras you get in. And how many of us civil servants have got other things going on where we are getting money, whether it's your taxi business, whether it is that you are selling potatoes on the side of the street. There are people that are making a lot of money by doing these things. And see what it is that you can do to start paying off that smallest debt. Because what you do is you release funding. You release funding that you can apply to the next debt and the next debt and the next debt. So be involved in your own finances, and where you need support, ask for it. Contact someone, have a look at your finances, see what you can do differently. I mean, if I look at some of the younger people I work with, many of them are involved in savings clubs, including my housekeeper. She's part of a savings club. So at the end of the year, when it's time to go to the north or whatever, she's got her ShopRite vouchers and she's got a stash of money, because what she's been willing to do every month is to put away $200 million, right? So, and these are just a few examples. Obviously, there are many more. It is very sad that many of us find ourselves in this position, and I really hope that we look at ways, and you are welcome to contact me to help you get out of that. of that position. But what I do want to stress is the time is now. Don't wait with that. Yeah, it doesn't get better. It only gets worse. Any other questions before I get to the last slide? Yes, sir.
How expensive is financial advice?
It's very cheap. Cheap, cheap. Okay, so I charge $900 for the consultation. Okay, for your first consultation. Then we look at investments. If we agree to certain investments, if I get my fee from the investment, I do not charge you anything further. Okay? Why do I charge the 900? Because none of us can work for free, and it is my time. It is my time and my intellectual property. And I have had many examples in my life of people who have enjoyed the opportunity to sit in my office. I always offer you coffee, tea, or water, never juice or anything else, except for my one older client who comes all the way from the farm and says, Afra, you will have juice, because I believe in us staying healthy. Sometimes you'll get something additional. But yes, we have an opportunity to work through your finances. You do get a report at the end of it. When it comes to, and this is, I'm shooting myself in the foot, but I am never comfortable charging full price to retiring employees. It just doesn't feel right. Already you are going home to less than. So I always negotiate my fees on the investment. Okay. And I've had some of you already come to me after the last presentation. So yeah, I've had a few people. Did that answer your question, sir? It's cheap, ne? Yeah. Sorry? Where's my office? Okay, so I'll put my details up here. My office is in Klein Windhoek, but I'll put my details are on the final slide. You can take a snapshot of it, and then you can be in touch with me. All I request is if you do contact me on my cell phone, please tell me your full name, how you got to me, because I do get interesting calls. There are Bentons who are also looking for me, and I block them. Some say they can't sleep at night because they are thinking about me. Okay, so please just tell me where I know you from, because otherwise I will just block you. Yes, sir. A certified financial planner has to abide by a code of ethics from the Financial Planning Institute of Southern Africa. We have to keep up our points over time, over an 18-month cycle, which requires us to attend a certain amount of professional presentations, etc. We also pay an exorbitant fee to belong to the Financial Planning Institute. It would be easier to deal with the financial planner and consequences if you are working through a certified financial planner, right? But of course, there are many accredited advisors around. Some work for just one company, some work for more than one company. But that's the essential difference. I must be honest with you, right now, to be a CFP, you still write South African qualifications. My experience is the South African situation is more complicated than Namibia. So if you are able to understand that and complete those examinations, you should be able to advise a Namibian citizen quite well. Okay, thank you. Anything else? The last slide, please. Here it comes. So the last slide really points to the fact that yes, one day you will stop working, but please remember that your money must never stop working for you. What I mean by your money must continue working for you is throughout your lifetime, you must keep a portion in riskier assets, stocks or shares as we call them, property investments, more aggressive portfolios, because if you've got time in the market, remember I said the caveat is time, if you've got at least 10 years, you have to ensure that you still have money here, because if you keep it all here in fixed income, which is a tendency not only for retiring employees, but for Namibians generally. Even if you look at the Association of Unit Trusts and they give you the information in terms of how we invest, we are quite risk averse. So we want to keep our money close, and we give up on the opportunity of growth for that. So the final slide is to share with you that at any given point, you must keep a percentage in assets that grow over time so that you ensure that you are always able to take care of yourself. Okay, that was the final slide. Oh, okay, it actually wasn't. This was just a reminder around the Japanese people and the concept of ikigai, which is all around finding your reason for being, which changes over time. When Rachel was speaking, she spoke about who she was when she was working, what she did 5 years before she retired, what calls she started making for her future before she retired. She has kept her purpose alive and continues to keep her purpose alive as she proceeds. Retirement is considered one of the biggest emotional challenges to human beings outside of death and divorce. It has a huge impact. And therefore, it is extremely important for you, wherever you can, to have a look at how can I still be of use? Where is it that I can still make a difference? What is my reason for being? If I look at this one lady who did a presentation for us, I think her name was Amanda Dambuza, she said to us, what qualifies you to keep breathing this oxygen that you are breathing? And that question has had me question so many things in my life. I need to value this breath, and I need to be worthy of this breath. So how do we keep breathing purposefully throughout life? And with that, ladies and gentlemen, there are my details. Thank you very much for your time and attention. I wish you a hassle-free retirement worthy of every single breath. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ms. Afra. Let's give a round of applause again to her. We will now go into our questions. If you have a question that you would like to answer, you are more than welcome. So let us listen to one another, and then thereafter we will close the day. I would also like to advise you, please complete for us the evaluation form in the pack that we've given to you, and the questionnaire, please complete it for us. Our consultants here will pick it up from you. You can just raise your hand if you want to give it in, so that we can take your inputs back to the office that you would like to give. Yes, we can share with you the presentation. You are more than welcome to get it. So we will start immediately. Our panel is here for you to be for your questions to be answered. There's a question at the back there. Let's listen to him.
All right, my question goes to GIPF. I just want to know whether such a workshop like this is always given to the younger ones that should know and learn and understand what pension is. For me, it is the second time here. We came here for the same workshop. And then GIPF is waiting for us until we are 53, it's when we are called. And then given lectures on pension. Instead, when we are still young, then the young ones should know about this pension before they get there. That's why they are confused now. They say they need to get their money because they do not understand. Many civil servants don't know about pension. They just say the pension is just taking care of self there where it is. These plans which you had here are not given to the young ones. They don't know what to do with their pension. So I request the GIPF also to render this workshop to the young ones that they still have time to invest in pension. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much for that input. It's well noted. There's still questions. If you have legal questions regarding the FIMA, how is FIMA affecting you? Please ask those questions. You have the platform now. We have our legal advisor also with us. So you are more than welcome. Yes, the tax number is still here with us. So if you have tax issues, want to find out on your tax, you are more than welcome also to go. They are here to assist you. Colleagues, is everything clear? Members, is everything clear that we have given to you today? Is everything clear? Yes. Okay. We have some questions from our viewers.
What about if I don't know how to read and write? They don't know how to read and write. I'm saying, what about those people, they don't know how to read and write?
To complete the evaluation forms.
Yeah.
Then our consultants will be able to assist you. They can explain to you, ask you the questions, and complete it for you. Okay.
Afternoon, colleagues. I'm going to be reading a few questions from the social media platforms. So like alluded to earlier on, we have been live streaming on YouTube and Facebook, and some people have been coming through via those platforms. So I'll just say the question. Some of the names here are slang, plenty wahalas and so on. So I won't really be saying the names, but I'll just be saying the questions, and then the rest of my GIPF colleagues can perhaps just assist me in answering. So the first question is, what happens if I die before my marriage is dissolved? Divorce is submitted but not yet concluded. Can the ex-spouse still benefit?
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Melchizedek Upindi. I'm responsible for legal and compliance affairs at GIPF. So I'm going to answer the first question, and let me just try and see if I understood it correctly. The member is saying that what if she passes on, or he passes on, pending a divorce that has been instituted but has not yet been granted? Will the surviving spouse benefit from the pension funds benefit? That is the question, right? Yes. Marriage is valid in these circumstances, assuming, and has not been dissolved. So, instituting divorce proceedings does not mean that you have divorced. You remain married up until the marriage is dissolved by the court of law. So, in short, the member remains married to the spouse in question. Now, the question then is, can that spouse still benefit since there was divorce that was instituted? The answer is yes. Because for as long as you have not been granted divorce order by the court, you remain married, and the spouse in question remains entitled to that portion that will be allocated to that spouse by the trustees of pension fund. Why? Because a spouse is one of the persons that are recognized in terms of the Pension Funds Act as dependents of the member in question. How much will the spouse in question get? There is no fixed answer to that, because it will depend, firstly, on the amount that is available for distribution in this particular pot of benefit in question, and it will also depend on the discretion to be exercised by the trustees, because I assume there will be that spouse and other dependents, such as the children of the member in question and any other person who was dependent on the member in question. Thank you.
Thank you, Melky. The next question is that we do see your hand. We'll come to you. We just want to finish the social media questions first. The next question is, what in case the child is permanently disabled and will never work, why must the spouse get lifelong benefits than the disabled child?
Firstly, in terms of the GIPF rules, we have two types of benefits that would be payable under the circumstances explained by the member. In terms of the child that is permanently disabled, the rules that governs the relationship between the fund and the members and the beneficiaries makes provision for all the benefits that can be paid out. The benefit number one is that of dependence. The child in question will be entitled to the benefit if the member in question passes away in two circumstances. Circumstance number one would be the lump sum that is distributable amongst all the dependents. So again, this amount will depend on who are the other dependents in this particular case, so that they share all together. Now, the child in question, I've not gotten the age of the child. I'm assuming that he's probably a minor child, right? If it's a minor child, there is a children's pension that is payable. And we pay these children, whether the child is disabled or not disabled, the child will be entitled to a benefit, which will be an annuity benefit payable on a monthly basis. In most instances, these kids are in school and is paid for as long as they remain minor. However, because this child is disabled, there is an extension. Maybe let me reverse a bit to say that the minor children, initially our age of majority was age 21, so they would have been entitled up until age 21. We now know that that age has been reversed and they now turn major at age 18, right? So if you turn 18, then you become major and you will not be entitled to those benefits unless you are mainly dependent or you were mainly dependent on the member, such as that you are in school or you are disabled. If those two circumstances are present, and I see this one is present because the child is said to be disabled, that child would then be entitled to the benefits up to the age of 25. Now, once the child turns 25, then that is the cutoff age. There's a second leg to the question. Why is the spouse entitled to the benefit for life and children not for life? One, pension funds are established mainly to take care of the members themselves, you who are seated here. The pension is established for you. However, life happens that the main member might actually pass away. And that main member, it's also taken cognizance that that main member had dependents that were dependent on that person, on you, right? And therefore, when you're not there as a member, the fund then steps into your shoes and take care of some of those responsibilities that you were responsible for, such as to take care of your spouse and to take care of your children. Unfortunately, children do not remain children forever. There needs to be a cutoff age. You would agree with me that there are many members that have got more kids, but we know that in most instances there will be one spouse. But we've got members that have got 10, 15, 20 kids. Now just imagine if we had a member with 15 children and that member passes away, and yet there is an expectation that the fund must take care of all the 15 children for life. I can guarantee you that the fund is not going to be sustainable. The fund would go bankrupt within a very short period to the detriment of so many members. Hence, there is a limit that because we know that there are very few spouses that have got more spouses, most of meaning more than one, we will take care of the spouse for life. But even that taking care of the spouse for life, there's a limit, because we only pay up to 50% of what the main member was entitled to, and we take that for life. But unfortunately, we cannot give that guarantee to the children, because there may be more, and the fund will be bankrupt in a very, very short period of time. So it is unsustainable, and hence it's not part of the rules. Thank you.
Thank you, Malky. The last question says, how is GIPF going to help a family that will have a family member fired from his position and a member passes on before 55 years old? Will this member be entitled to that $8,000 that GIPF gives once off?
Thanks for the question. Let me see if I understood the question correctly. The member used to work for one of the participating institutions in GIPF, assuming it's government or any or parastatal, whatever it is. And the member has been dismissed, right?
Yes.
Now, if a member gets dismissed, there's a benefit that that member is entitled to come and claim. It comes into two ways. That member can either come and withdraw the benefit directly from the fund straight into his or her bank account. That's a withdrawal benefit. Or that member has a choice to choose in two remaining positions. Position number one, if that member has been in the fund for more than 10 years, that member can actually choose to preserve the benefits within the fund. In other words, leave the benefits in the fund and find them sometime in the future, such as when they turn 55 or when they retire. That is choice number one. Choice number two, they can also preserve that benefit that they get by either sending it to whichever next fund they would move to, if they happen to get subsequent employment, or they've got another approved fund such as retirement annuity of their choice, or again, transfer that money to any preservation fund of their choice to preserve that amount up until such time that it becomes suitable for them to withdraw the benefit. So in short, that member that has been dismissed is entitled to the benefits in terms of the rules and can just come and approach, in fact, go back to the employer where he or she used to work, fill in the claim form, and that claim form will be submitted to GIPF, who will be able to do and act as directed by that member. Thank you.
Good afternoon, everybody. So I would like to tell me about this FEMA thing that is so confusing. I'm turning 58 this year, and I'm not planning to go on early retirement. I would like to go up to 60. And if I go up to 60 by the grace of God, 2024, will I get my lump sum as it is, and then my 2/3 in monthly installments, or how will it be in my case? I would like clarity, please.
Thanks for the question. Firstly, let me clarify what the preservation or the proposed regulation on preservation is saying. And I want to underline the word proposed because it is a proposal on the table. It's still up for discussion. I've seen today in today's paper, Nafisa is asking any person who is interested in the public out there to give comments. If there's any fear that can be, it can be entertained by Nafisa in them forwarding to the Minister of Finance to determine whether to bring that proposal into force or not. In other words, it's still under consideration. But this is what it's saying. It's saying if you retire, in other words, if not retire, if you exit from the fund, such as before you reach the age of 55. I'm glad to hear you are 58, and I think you don't have to worry about this. You are above the age being spoken about in the regulation. So when you leave your pension fund before the age of 55, so the proposal is that at least 75% of your benefits should be preserved. You can preserve it in the retirement fund where you are, or you can send it to another retirement fund or preservation fund, and you can only access it when you turn 55. And again, you are 58, you have gone past this point. Now, let us assume you were below that age. So what it means is that in your case, if you were below the age 55, you would only be allowed to withdraw 25%, 75% as proposed would be preserved in the retirement fund system, and when you turn 55, you are then allowed to access it. In case of GIPF members under the rules as they read now, you'll have an option for early retirement, for example. So if you were to retire early, which is age 55, in that case, then you are entitled to take out all your benefits as you have just stated right now.
There was a question that 75%, the 75%, if the person resigns from the government, they either intended to engage in business or to be, can he use that 75% as a collateral?
Okay.
Because his money is with GIPF, and that's 75%. Now the person is asking, can he use it as a collateral for him to be able to engage in other businesses?
All right. There is prohibition in terms of the pension fund law, the Pension Funds Act, in Namibia, in South Africa, and a few other jurisdictions, that pension money shall be jealously guarded, should not be put at unnecessary risk. Remember, if you were to be allowed to use your pension for collateral, and you fail to meet the condition of that agreement that put up your pension as collateral, they would come and get your pension. So that when you retire, that business venture has failed, you have not gotten anything if it has failed. Your pension, which was put up as collateral, has also been called up, you will take home zero. Now, to guard against that, there is a prohibition in the law that says that you are not allowed to put up your pension benefit as collateral, except under one condition, which is for housing. So housing, if it's for housing, yes, you will still be allowed to use your pension benefit as collateral for housing, and also to get a loan from your pension fund. So that is allowed. For housing, you can, but for business ventures, no, you are not allowed to. Thank you.
Thank you. My question is, so meaning that if I'm not 55, if I'm 54 and I decided now to resign, I will only get 75% of my pension. At 25, 75 is going to staying, or you have the option to take it to another fund.
That is correct. If it's correct, if the proposal becomes law.
Yes. Now,
at the moment, if I may just hold on so that I can finish it. At the moment, since that remains a proposal, is not yet law. If those circumstances you have referred to now happens today or tomorrow, you will be allowed to get your benefits, and you will be allowed to exercise a choice. In other words, do you want to get the money or do you want to preserve the money? That is your choice.
Okay. Now, in my case, why I'm asking this, because I'm at the stage that I need to make a decision on this. So, meaning that if I'm going now and the 75 remain, what will happen to that money if I'm going, debt is coming in or whatever? What will happen to that money, the 75% now?
Okay, the 75% that is left behind is preserved for you to turn 55 or above. However, your question is, what if I die before 55?
Yes.
The answer is that 75% will be distributed to your dependents. Your dependents will then be your children, your spouse, and any other person who was, as a matter of fact, dependent on you.
Okay. The next question is, now I'm sorry for that, because that's why I'm here, because I need to make decisions on my life.
Sure.
Now, for instance, so meaning that if I am now 55, I do not resign or anything, and I'm turning 55, and this is implemented, meaning that I do not have an option after that to take my, to resign and take my money, I just have to go in retirement.
The answer is yes. If the proposal becomes law and you leave before you are 55, you will only be entitled to 25% immediately. The 75% will, by law, be required to stay behind to preserve it up until you have retired. However, there is one exception, that the 75% can actually be accessed if you become disabled. In that case of disability, you'll be entitled to at least 50%.
Okay, so, and how long will this process take? Because I'm asking this question because I need to know, because to me, I don't want, I want a preference of my own preference where to take my money and what to do with my money. I'm sorry for that. I have no offense. I'm just thinking of that. So meaning that you cannot tell us a time frame, meaning I can go now, take my money and go now.
Okay, two things to consider. To give a direct answer to your when will this become law, we don't know. The proposal was that ideally, they want by 1st of October this to become law. However, with what is happening now in the society, with the restarting of the process of consultation again, this might cause further delays. Nobody really knows when will that, if it will come after all. Because remember, there is still a possibility that it might not come into law because the minister has not pronounced himself yet. It's still at the level of NAMFISA. And NAMFISA must make recommendation to the minister. And the minister must then make up his mind. Do I want this law to become effective or not? He may say no. He may say yes, but let it be changed to build in more exceptions. To build in, excuse me? No. What we're talking about is the regulation that's talking about preservation. It has not gone to Parliament. So,
as I said, these parliamentarians, they don't know because they are not the members. They were not affected. Yeah, but affected. Only the regulation bring the alarm.
Yes.
They have back already.
Yes, what we're saying is that the provision in question is not in the Act. So that Act, what you're saying, it has already gone. It is not in this one is in the regulations. And the power is given to the minister to decide whether to bring that regulation or not. In other words, if this regulation does not become law, the Act becomes law, her concern does not arise. So it only arises if the regulation becomes law. And that has not happened yet. Hence the minister said, don't panic, I'm yet to pronounce myself on the regulation, and I'll pronounce myself once I've seen those inputs. So our plea remains, don't panic, there's no need to panic.
Because I don't know, because October you're telling me that it's already, yeah.
Okay. I'm hoping.
You have to give us an option of what to do. It is our own, yes. Advise us, give us an option on what to do.
Yes. My hope is that when Afra was presenting, which she's now gone, she's not here, she was giving enlightenment on how to take financial decisions. So my hope is that whatever decision you will take that decision in light of this information that she presented here. Because there is a risk. Just hold on. There is a risk. And not a risk, but there are more risks in fact. Risk one is that some people may panic and resign. They lose two things. You lose the job because there is no guarantee that once you resign today, you'll be able to get a job the next year or even the next day. Why? Because the rate of unemployment is so high. The competition out of employment is so high. You leave your position today, tomorrow when you want to come back, you are competing in that position with 200 people, and you might not be the successful candidate. Now, you are outside, you only have the pension that you have built up to now. And there are still more years to go, up until 60, that's one, and even beyond 60, because you still need to live beyond 60. And I guarantee you, the withdrawal benefit that you will get now will not be able to sustain you for the rest of your life. Because remember, once you get the retirement benefit, there is a guarantee from GIPF that once you stay with us up until your retirement age, we will take care of you for the rest of your life. But that guarantee is not given to those that are going to resign. So if you resign, you only have that which you collect, what you collect as a retirement as a withdrawal benefit. That's all that you have. So, just hold on. So if you manage it prudently, you are lucky. If you don't manage it prudently, you'll be one of the unlucky ones, and there may be nothing to take care of you for the remainder of your lifetime. Thank you.
I have responded my name already. My speech is that no, but it's only the two of them. Both parties,
Yes, then please pose your question.
both the GIPF and the employer of an employee who has got the right to decline the early retirement application, GIPF or the employer?
You pay what to take.
The approval for early retirement, the decision is taken by the employer, because your employment contract is with the employer, not with GIPF. So that has to be taken up with the employer. I'm sure if the employer needs you for whatever reason, you can still negotiate. So that if you really want to go in early retirement, maybe they can put you on contract so that you take your early retirement benefit and then they employ you on a contractual basis.
Is there any question once your application you offer it to the table for the personnel officer to ask you why you want to go on early retirement so that it can be disapproved or approved? There must be some question and obstacle must be kept on the face, or is it easy to be applied?
So sorry, the panic is already there.
So answering the question is
Yeah.
The question is saying.
No. The thing is some of the information when people are asking, they are not clarified when the people are being employed. They only get that excitement that I got a job. It's unfortunately they don't ask those questions. That's why we hear people are still asking us. The employer is the government, specifically also the Prime Minister. And they always, when you want to go either for early retirement or you have to apply to your employer, not to GIPF.
And after all, will they call me to the table after I submit my application? Then they say, okay, come to the table. We have to ask you some questions why you want to go on early retirement, and if maybe my answers and my reasons are not satisfied, is when they can decline it.
Yes, they do. We have a request of early retirement which was declined by the employer. You have to engage your employer on that one.
Okay, thank you, sir.
Okay. Me, I just want to find out me because I've been before I work for the ministry, where the current ministry, I've been coming from other ministry. I just want to find out what happened in my previous benefit.
So what you're saying is that you've worked for more than one ministry. You've changed ministries.
Yes.
Now you want to know what happened to the initial ministry that you worked for.
Yeah.
Okay, that history will also be taken into account. So you have moved with it. So the records are still kept with your HR personnel officers. They have your file, they have your history. So you will not lose that period. That period will also be counted when we count your final benefit. So you will not lose that period.
Thank you.
I just want to ask, for us who are already above the 55, if we reach our 60, that new FEMA that is coming, will it not temper with our 1/3, 2/3?
The answer is no. The preservation will apply to those that are younger than 55. If you are above that, you will not be forced to preserve because you are now at the right time to collect your benefit and go home with you. Thank you.
Okay, I want to find out that 75% that you will get when you turn 55. I read somewhere that you will be getting it monthly. Why are we going to get it monthly?
My understanding is this: if you are a member of GIPF, you are in a defined benefit, not in a defined contribution. My understanding of that standard is saying if you are in a defined contribution, then you will get it on a monthly basis. In GIPF, it's already set up in that way. Because remember, in GIPF, you get your 1/3 and then you get your monthly. So my understanding is that that monthly that we pay, the rationale now is to apply that to all the other funds so that they become almost what you will get in GIPF. We pay you on a monthly basis up until the last day that you leave. So it's already there in GIPF.
Nice. All 75 it will be monthly. Why don't you give me 25% out of that 75 again? And then the rest can be monthly then.
Now, this standard again that you're referring to, it's one of the standards that are still up for consideration. So this 75, 25, and even this monthly payment remains a proposal. And the period remains open for inputs such as the one that you are making to say, no, don't keep the whole 75, at least keep 50, or at least keep 10 or 20 or 80, whichever you feel is appropriate for you, so that when the minister looks at it, the minister will say, let me look at what are the people saying on the ground, and I will then make up my mind as a minister to say, okay, I will either take it away, or I will increase it, or I will reduce it. Whatever decision the minister will come to will be informed by those inputs and proposals, such as the one that you have just given. Thank you.
Any more questions?
It's unfortunate. We can debate the whole day, we cannot get a solution. They define benefit, they define contribution. This thing was forced onto the people. That's why I raised it early in the morning when you started the presentation. There is no way you can decide for somebody. You could not tell. I saw the ladies from Namfisa. They were talking nonsense on TV. Saying that they have made research. People will become poor. Why do you have to think about? Why do you have to think for them? The ministers, all of them, all the members of parliament, they are on a defined contribution. While the civil servants are on a defined benefit. Who told them that the civil servants want a defined benefit? GIPF employees, you are on a defined contribution. Am I right? That's why I'm saying we can debate here, but they cannot get a solution. Or what people probably need to get, civil servants need to engage the Minister of Finance for us to discuss about the defined benefit and decide for ourselves. I said that time has passed of deciding on others. People are grown up, people are mature. They need to think and brought to the table that these are the pro and the cons of each the contribution. For now, to be honest with you, civil servants are not happy. And just take that civil servants, whether they are bringing FEMA or whatever they bring, people are not happy with the current arrangements.
Okay.
Because JPF employees, those who are running our administration, they are not there. Politicians, those who are talking about on our behalf, they are not there.
All right, thank you. I agree with you that it's appropriate to have and exercise a choice, provided that choice is informed. Actually, I want to be in a DB. I'm surprised that the civil service don't want to be in a DB fund, in a defined benefit fund. I actually want to be in a defined benefit fund for two main reasons. And this is the huge benefit to be in a defined benefit fund. In a defined benefit fund, you don't take any risk as a member. The risk is on the fund and the employer. In other words, just hold on, just hear me. In other words, whatever happens in Russia, in Namibia, or wherever, whatever happens to the market, you as a member of a defined benefit fund, you don't even have to worry. Why? Why? Because the benefit is already defined, it is guaranteed to you. Let me tell you what happens to us who are in a DC fund. When COVID kicked in, the market dropped because the economies shut down. There was no productivity. Our benefits immediately dropped. So if I were to leave my pension fund during the time of COVID at the beginning, would have lost a huge sum of money. But you guys in the DB fund, you had nothing to worry about. We in the DB fund, we had to worry because we can see, if today I had 10,000 in my account, I can see that now I only have 7,000. I lost that 3,000 already, immediately, right? Now, just hold on a minute. So, that is one of the advantages that you have. The other one is this. When you look at the way the GIPF is set up, one of the advantages I'll tell you now is the funeral benefit and the lifetime guarantee that you get. We don't have it. Because I can run out of my pension at 65 or even at 70. You don't have to worry about that. Because your pension is guaranteed to you for life. So, whatever decision you make, whether you want to be in a DB or in a DB fund, do it at the back of an informed decision. Be informed, have a look at the benefits, in other words, the pros and the cons. What are the disadvantages? What are the advantages? And I can tell you, there are more benefits in a defined benefit fund than in a defined contribution fund. Thanks.
A minister worked for 10 years only, and a PS worked for 10 years. Since they are on a different contributions, the minister will go out with 10 million, while the poor PS will go with 1 million. You see the difference?
Is that the lump sum or is that for life?
Whatever is entitled to him. Whatever is entitled to him. He goes with 10 million, this one is going with 1 million.
Okay.
Just take that scenario.
There are two things you haven't considered. What is the salary of the minister?
No,
just hold on. Just
hear
me. No, just hear me. Just hear me out. What is the salary of the minister and the salary of the PS? One.
Yeah, the PS is
hold on, sir. If you want to have conversation. So you consider that one. How long have they saved? And what is the actuarial factor in their fund and in the fund where the PS is? That is one. The other one is this. The rules of the members of parliament fund,
I know.
Yeah, have got a certain guarantee because of the disadvantages that they save, because the maximum that you are guaranteed is 5. After 5, you don't know whether you come back or not. So their benefits have been designed with that in mind. That's why I said there's a problem. While for a PS, the PS used to be recruited for a whole 60 years, up to 60, not for 5 years initially. And therefore, that difference already makes a difference between where they are in their pension fund and the GIPF pension fund. So you are not comparing apples to apples.
That's what I'm saying.
If you were to compare apples to apples,
these two acts,
then only then you can see whether the other one is better than the others. So you can't compare the two at the moment because those other factors are all separate and different from each other.
Because somebody decided for them. Their ministers decide for themselves. But at least if you are lucky, you go to 10 years. If not, it's 5 years. That's why they opt not to put their pension where others are pension are. This is what I'm saying, it's where there is a problem. These things need to be discussed. And the issue of the Minister of Finance, whether he is going to approve he need to come down and talk to the civil servants, especially those who are on a defined benefit. Because up to now, all the civil servants who are on a defined, they are told, no, you are secured. Don't move, you are secured. But those who are not secured, they are not there. So security applies only to the civil servants. Politicians, they don't need security. Our administrators, they don't need security. Because they are educated, eh? The civil servants are not. I take it like that.
What do you mean?
Because GIPF, if they will know that this defined benefit is good, all the GIPF employees were supposed to be on the defined benefit. Politicians, if they know the defined benefit is good, they would be there. Why they found it suitable for the others, but not for them? That's my argument.
Excuse me, well, the information, why are you guys not telling us about that? From the ED, Deputy Minister upwards, they qualified 100% loan from GIPF to purchase houses and farms and so on. But us, we cannot. Why? If, for instance, you become a minister tomorrow, immediately you qualified.
Okay.
So why is but us as the workers?
Yeah, actually you do. You do qualify. There are two systems in place.
That capital, whatever
Yes.
story. Nay.
Yes.
No. What about money?
It's the same. The money at first capital is your money itself.
Yeah, okay, now
It's
our
your
money will be used for the EDs, Deputy Minister, what, 100%, and they can even bought farms and things from that money.
No.
You know,
No, it's
why
not.
are you guys,
It's
why
not,
are you not,
it's, no, the information is not correct.
next time, why are you not bringing the CEO here, David Nuyoma? Then I will face him, he knows about it.
Okay.
All of them knows. That's why.
Let me give you the correct
I
answer.
have the floor, please. You are not here when we start. You just come here. I was asking, give us the failures. The other gentleman, Levy, he only played the best videos for us. But there's a lot of failures with our money, but we cannot, for instance, if we find a collateral business here and say, okay, we the 5 guys, we want to make this and this, we cannot get it. But someone who is not